We like to think of our personalities as these completely unique, deeply personal blueprints. But what if your personality is actually just a product of your zip code?
Oh, that's such a fascinating way to frame it.
Right. So today, I'm putting on my curious student hat, and you are stepping in as the guest lecturer to guide us through section 11.8 of Chapter 11 from Psychology 2E. Our mission for this deep dive is to figure out exactly where the map of the world ends and your personality begins.
Well, I love taking on the lecturer role for this because it's just an incredibly revealing topic. The overarching theme in section 11.8 is that culture is a massive environmental sculpture of human behavior.
And by culture, we're talking about the customs and language and, well, the beliefs you swim in every day.
Exactly. And on a global scale, we see these really distinct trait concentrations. Like populations in Central and South American cultures consistently score much higher on the trait of openness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Asian cultures generally measure a bit lower on extroversion.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because framing it like that makes personality sound almost like, I don't know, a regional accent.
A regional accent.
Yeah, like someone from Boston sounds different from someone from Texas, sure. But you're saying they actually feel and act differently on a baseline psychological level just by living there.
The data actually strongly supports that personality accent concept. I mean, if we look closer to home, the textbook identifies three very distinct regional personality clusters within the U.S. alone.
Wait, really? Just three?
Well, three main ones. So Cluster 1 covers the upper Midwest and Deep South, which is dominated by traits categorized as friendly and conventional. Then Cluster 2 is the West, where populations index high on being relaxed, emotionally stable, and, creative.
Okay, so friendly South, relaxed West. What about the Northeast?
That would be Cluster 3. The Northeast is characterized by higher levels of people who are stressed, irritable, and depressed.
Having tried to find parking in Manhattan, I entirely validate Cluster 3. But this raises a chicken or egg scenario for me.
How so?
Well, if all these traits are clustered geographically, did the environment mold the people? Or did a bunch of highly stressed people just decide to congregate in the Northeast?
That is the core question, right? What's fascinating here is the mechanism of selective migration. Basically, people actively move to locations that satisfy their psychological needs.
So an adventurous person moves somewhere adventurous.
Right. A highly open, novelty-seeking person is statistically more likely to pack up and move to a diverse area like California. But someone who scores high on agreeableness might prioritize staying exactly where they are to remain close to family.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
We even see geographic concentrations of openness and conscientiousness correlating strongly with specific local outcomes. Just strictly reporting the data here, it maps onto things like liberal versus conservative voting patterns and even regional entrepreneurial rates.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. If we are constantly sorting ourselves into physical spaces that validate our existing traits, couldn't that create massive cultural blind spots?
Oh, absolutely. It definitely can.
Like, if Westerners migrate into hyper-competitive, ambition-driven bubbles, we might just assume that's the default human condition.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that exact assumption is a known psychological pitfall. It's the core difference between individualist and collectivist cultures.
Right, because Western nations like the U.S. and England operate on individualist values.
Exactly. The culture rewards independence, personal achievement, and competition. But you contrast that with collectivist cultures, which are widely prominent in Asia, Africa, and South America.
Where the focus is more on the group.
Yes, in those societies, social harmony, respectfulness, and the needs of the group inherently outweigh individual ambition.
So what does this all mean for the psychologists trying to measure this stuff?
It makes their jobs a lot harder, honestly.
I mean, if I take a standard personality test, which was likely designed in an individualist culture to measure how much of a standout go-getter you are, and hand it to someone whose entire worldview is built on blending in, that test is practically broken.
It absolutely breaks. An assessment requires a shared cultural frame of reference to measure anything accurately. The textbook highlights this with Native American populations.
Like needing a specific approach for different tribes.
Exactly. Assessing those individuals requires a tribe-specific understanding of their local values, not some generic, off-the-shelf test.
Which makes total sense.
So to solve this translation problem globally, researchers utilize three distinct methods. The first is the cultural comparative approach, which basically takes Western concepts and tests them in other cultures just to see if those specific traits even exist or matter there.
Imagine importing concepts doesn't always capture the whole picture of a local culture, though.
It rarely does, which is why researchers also use the indigenous approach. Instead of importing a test, they start from
So
scratch.
they build it from the ground up.
Yeah, they ask people within the culture what traits matter to them, and they build entirely new assessments using local language and regional concepts.
And what was the third one?
Finally, there is the combined approach, which layers both methods. It tries to establish the universal human baseline while simultaneously measuring the unique cultural flavor of a specific region.
Zooming out, I think the major takeaway from our deep dive today is that your personality isn't formed in a vacuum. It is deeply intertwined with the physical dirt you stand on and the local values of the community you choose to live in.
Yeah, the map of who you are is undeniably shaped by the map of where you are.
Which leaves me with this thought for you, listening right now. If selective migration creates physical clusters of specific personalities, like the relaxed West or the stressed Northeast, what happens when geography stops mattering?
Oh, that is a great question.
Right. As we spend more and more time in borderless digital communities, how will these virtual zip codes reshape human personality? Will we develop entirely new digital personality accents? Something to think about next time you log on.